Now, more arrests overnight and this morning at the Beitbridge border post. People were trying to get into South Africa illegally. Meanwhile, the Home Affairs Portfolio Committee has visited the Lebombo border post today. 20 land ports of entry are closed as lockdown level 3 continues. Aviwe Mtila is at the Lebombo border post and Slindelo Masikane is at Beitbridge. They join us live. Aviwe, we'll start with you. What did that Home Affairs Portfolio Committee actually find at that visit today?
Well, they weren't happy at all with the state of the Lebombo border post, following their oversight visit. Raised a number of concerns, and one of them is the treatment of South Africans coming from Mozambique into the border here. We understand that some of them came in scores and spent the night over here only because of a COVID-19 test. You'd find that that test takes only a minute to complete, and they'd get their results instantly, but we understand there have been delays in getting them tested, and the only thing standing between them and going home is that COVID-19 test. Another issue that was brought up here is the lack of social distancing. You'd see scores of people bunched up together, some of them not even wearing masks, a concern that was raised by the Portfolio Committee and Home Affairs. Another one is the continuous talks around the one-stop border post. I mean, those conversations have been essentially going on for years, and the Portfolio Committee saying that these are the issues that they want to take up with the Minister of Home Affairs, that is Dr. Aaron Motsoaledi. Let's just listen in on to the Portfolio Chairperson of Home Affairs in Parliament.
The Minister of Home Affairs must take responsibility, because all the institutions that are right here must report to the Border Management Authority, so that health, social services and all other departments that are here must be under that one roof. So we're expecting that moving from here, we will call upon the Minister to take responsibility of what is happening here and give and provide answers to Parliament on why there is no political will to execute what the President has said.
Take responsibility. I'd like to see that happen with Aaron Motsoaledi. Sleen, let's come to you at the Beitbridge border post. Seems the closure there has opened another door.
It certainly has. We know that the issue of illegal immigration or foreign nationals trying to jump borders illegally is not a new one, but it seems the closure of these borders has certainly exacerbated the situation here at the Beitbridge border post. And what we've been seeing or witnessing all morning is security officials deployed to the border post having to essentially deal with having to catch some of these foreign nationals. In fact, you can see the immigration vans coming back from, it seems, dropping off some of those illegal immigrants. But it also seems like the van, Shahan, just behind this one, it seems there are a couple of those Zimbabwean nationals that have also been caught, and they're going to be documented. They're going to have their fingerprints taken. You can see just to my right, this van is actually filled with some of those Zimbabwean nationals that have been captured here along the border post, and this has been happening all morning, Shahan. So it seems as though the influx of foreign nationals, or should I say Zimbabwean nationals rather, trying to come into South Africa has increased over the past couple of days since the announcement by the President on Monday. I did get a chance to speak to some of those Zimbabwean nationals who were caught, just to ask them why they took the risk, what it is that's bringing them into South Africa. Let's take a listen.
Hange ndichibva ndoba kusumbedza operation ndari ndikonyaga kuchekiwa ngori veila operation yezvimba kombera ndiyochekiwa ngedhoktani ndina mukomana wanga kula ndine ndikochimbira naye onyaga ndiye sibhadhera ngenesina kuchekiwa letwa operation ngazi 25 kaNovemba veila operation ikuzvimba ndine nditakusabva ndiyochekiwa
Zimbabwe siyasukela kuhle sisihambela nje sisekela ibhoda eceleni kwebhoda sibe sohamba siseceleni kwaLebombo siyolo Lebombo sesibuya ekuqaliseni kwebridge kwabe sifika sigade khona ilele sesingena ekhethini sesizibuyela siyehla khona la.
Abantu bambe kanjani manje la?
Hayi lapha khona nihlangane le situation nale namhla kuphela.
Nihlangane namaphoyisa?
Nihlangane lamasoja kuphela. basibiza basihlalisa phansi laphana then bazosithatha basiletha la.
Sli, I'm going to stay with you since there's some activity behind you. What happens to these people who come into the country illegally? What's the process to get them deported, and how long does that take?
Those processes, Shahan, will certainly, of course, be unfolding once they're caught, like you stated. So I'm just going to move out of shot while I speak over the visuals. What we understand in terms of what happens once they're caught is that they're brought to some of these checkpoints along the Beitbridge border post, because we are just at the very beginning of the fence that runs through and divides South Africa and Zimbabwe. And once they're caught, they're brought to one of these checkpoints, and then immigration officials who are from Home Affairs are then take them into one of these tents just here to my right. They're all gathered into that tent, and then an immigration official will then sit outside the tent and will start documenting them, taking their details, taking their fingerprints in particular, and then moving them to an immigration office where we know that legal processes then unfold. We understand that, of course, once they're caught, they're supposed to be taken to court before they are legally then deported back to their countries. But also what we understand around that is that even once they're deported back, many of these foreign nationals actually try to come back just as quickly as they were deported back into their countries. And we know the economic situation that lies beyond our borders into Zimbabwe. There is an economic crisis where we're finding many of these Zimbabwean nationals struggling to find jobs, struggling to feed their families, and they're saying that them attempting to come into South Africa is not because they want to, it's because they need to. It's because they need to feed their families, they need to make ends meet.
Yes, Aviwe, let's talk about the deportation process at Lebombo. How's that looking?
Well, true to what my colleague Slindelo Masikane is saying, a lot of these people actually find their way back here, Shahan. At around 8 o'clock, we did a live crossing where I remember counting the illegal immigrants that were to be deported at that time in the morning. There were around 39, and a lot of familiar faces that we saw being deported just yesterday had already arrived back, already been caught again this morning to be deported. Earlier on, we saw at around 6 o'clock a cat and mouse situation between the SANDF, South African National Defence Force, and the illegal immigrants. 6 illegal immigrants that were found by the SANDF. They ran away, managed to escape the officials, and the officials only came back with a backpack. Similar situation that we saw just yesterday as we were heading back to our BNB, where we came across in a space of 10 minutes at least 50 illegal immigrants making their way into South Africa successfully, Shahan. That would talk to the groves of illegal immigrants coming in essentially from Mozambique to South Africa on a single day. It's a situation that we spoke to the DG of Home Affairs, telling us that at least in a day 160 illegal immigrants are caught and deported back. But of course, it's clearly that more than 1,000 at least make it through successfully and undetected essentially.
Yeah. So, Slee, we're going to come back to you. We see that these people are moving from the vans to that tent, and let's try not to show their faces just out of respect. They're obviously going through a difficult time here. What's government being criticized for regarding the closure of these borders?
I think if many of our viewers were watching the channel a bit earlier on, around midday, we did see a presser by the Economic Freedom Fighters' leader, Julius Malema, who actually made it a point to speak around the issue of the closure of the SADC borders and our 20 land border posts, saying that, you know, government went ahead and closed these land borders, which had absolutely no effect in terms of how the coronavirus got into the country. Just shows the, should I say, the lack of leadership, according to Julius Malema, that we have in the country, saying that these borders, which border our African neighbors, should not suffer. We know that businesses and communities rely on a number of these border posts actually operating, and saying that instead of closing the land borders, why isn't government closing the airports, which is the manner in which the virus landed into South South Africa. And he's saying that it seems that our government just has no empathy or sympathy for our African brothers and sisters, and they are the ones now suffering the consequences of a virus that was not even brought in by any of these land borders. And so that is the criticism coming from just some of the political parties here in the country, saying that it seems that we are not being led. There's a lack of leadership and thought process around these borders, because now we're seeing a different kind of crisis unfolding. Not only are people's livelihoods being put at risk, but we now have people who are so desperate to get out of their own countries to find new opportunities, risking it all to come into South Africa. I mean, I'm seeing women here with babies on their backs. Many people also coming in through these illegal means to try and buy things here in South Africa to be able to actually go back to their countries to sell, because that is the only way they'll be able to support their families and make ends meet. And so we are seeing just a different kind of crisis unfolding. While it does seem as though government is trying to alleviate one problem, it's actually causing another.
Yeah, it's such a sad and very difficult situation. We're going to leave it right there. Slindelo Masikane is at the Beitbridge border post, and Aviwe Mtila is at the Lebombo border post.